Hello everybody, welcome to kind of different episode today because as the title shows, I recently finished up Steel Ball Run. So I just kind of wanted to give a re-ranking of all of my JoJo's, my favorite JoJo's parts. So like I said, I have just read up Steel Ball Run. I've started reading JoJo Leon. I'm on chapter 7 and I'm very much so enjoying it so far. Like I am loving JoJo Leon and like genuinely if Josuke, now he's being called Josuke, ends up continuing to like be like he is, he might end up being my favorite JoJo. But I will get into the ranking. So, out of these 7 arcs that I have read, in my 7th place, I put Phantom Blood. Now, when I rank these in the way, it's not because they're bad, because no JoJo part is bad, it's just, it's the lesser among Colossus. But yeah, so, part 1, it is, honestly, it's really good. I love it. Hamon is my favorite of these power systems. I know, Hamon wouldn't have been, I guess, able to last as a power system, but it has a special place in my heart, probably because Joseph is one of my favorite Joestars. I'd say my second favorite, and I don't know, I just love Hamon. I don't know what it is, but I just love Hamon. And part 1 introduces it. And I really love Jonathan. Jonathan is one of my favorites. Well, I mean, he's not necessarily one of my favorites, but I just love his character. He's very honorable and all of that. So I love seeing Jonathan. But why I have it in 7th is because, honestly, it's just the weakest out of all of them. The story is good, but it's just not, super complex or anything like that. And also, this is the only JoJo's part I have ever dropped, actually, because I tried getting into JoJo's 2 times before I actually ever got into it. And those 2 times, I got to, first time, I only got to the 2nd episode. Second time, I got to episode 3, and I dropped them both times. But once I actually decided, I'm going to watch all of JoJo's, watch it through, and I really enjoyed Phantom Blood. But it's just personally my least favorite. So then in 6th, this is going to be a very controversial take. Well, okay, yeah, I was about to say this one. Well, yeah, it is still going to be very controversial. But for 6th, I would put Stardust Crusaders. Now, personally, I just hate the pacing of Stardust Crusaders. I can take a slog of a story. Heck, I just got done reading Volume 2 of War and Peace, which I'll be getting a video on, at least probably before this one, actually. But, yeah, I got done reading it. That's a slow book, but it just, Stardust Crusaders, I don't mess with the main character. I'm not a fan of Jotaro in any of the parts he's in, really. And, Dio is, I'd say Dio is probably my least favorite, at least Original Universe Dio, is my least favorite antagonist in all of JoJo's. Because I feel like he's evil for the sake of being evil. Now, yes, do we get more characterization on him in part 6, and but the actual parts where he's alive, I just feel like he's really driven by just revenge. Because he is. He hates the Joestars and a desire to control the world. And so I just see he kind of has a detriment there because of that. And he's, like I said, he's probably my least favorite. That's why the 2 parts where he's the antagonist are my least favorite parts. But that's not to say that everything about Stardust Crusaders is bad. I love Polnareff. Polnareff is one of my favorite characters in all of JoJo's. I also do like the other supporting characters like Muhammad Avdol and Kakyoin. But the dude who I love the most in this part is Joseph. I love Joseph. Joseph is, like I said, my second favorite Joestar of all time, and he is great in this part. But yeah, so I guess that's all I really have to say about Stardust Crusaders. I'm trying to keep it a little brief per each one of these because they're not full-on reviews. So then in 5th place, this one is very controversial, Stone Ocean. Now, I don't dislike Stone Ocean. I really like Jolene as a character is cool. I like to see how Jolene develops throughout Stone Ocean. I also really like Weather Report or Weather Forecast. I don't know, whoever wants to call him. But I feel like other characters was kind of dull. I don't know what it is. I might just miss the characterization on my part. I might not look into it. But I feel like a lot of them are just kind of simple. Now, one of my favorite characters in Stone Ocean is Pucci, because Pucci is very well developed and he's just a super cool character. I love seeing Pucci. He's a great antagonist. I don't know where I would put him in my listing of antagonists so far, but I do really like him. He would most certainly at least be in my top 5. But yeah, so, there's only 6 that I've read so far, but still. Yeah, so Stone Ocean, like I said, I feel like it also was when I was kind of getting fatigued to JoJo's, because I watched it all straight through. I watched part 1 to part 6 with no, intermission. So by the time I got there, I was kind of fatigued to Stone Ocean. So I need to go back and rewatch it, because I don't feel like I enjoyed it as much as I could have. And I want to give it its, I guess, time in the sun. But yeah, so then on to my 4th place. Now, my 4th place would be Golden Wind, or Arreo Viento. Viento Arreo, because wind, golden, yeah. So, Golden Wind, I don't like Giorno Giovanna really at all. I feel like he is literally the second I know he has complexity to him and all that, but in my opinion, he's just not as compelling as other Joestars. Like, I feel like you have Jonathan relatively being the least compelling because he's just kind of a very cut and dry guy, but even though he's still very honorable and very admirable. Then Giorno, like, I don't mess with Giorno. But the supporting cast is what makes Golden win. I love Abacchio. I love Mista. I love Bucciarati. And then, like, obviously, Narancia and Fugo. But, like, still, I think Abacchio is probably my favorite character in all of Golden Win. I love Abacchio. And then also Trish too. Trish is a really cool character. I like to see how Trish changes throughout the story. And Diavolo is a sick villain. I love Diavolo as a villain. He is super cool. I love, oh my gosh, what? I really enjoy Diavolo as a character. And I love seeing, like, the contrast between him and Doppio. And also, I love, like, not necessarily love what he did to Polnareff, but I love the history of him and Polnareff. Having seen Polnareff in part 5 was just super cool. I was like, huh? What's Polnareff doing here? And yeah, also, I love part 5 because it has my GOAT in it, who I'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, so part 5, like I said, it'll go in 4th place. Now, for 3rd place, part 2, Battle Tendency. I love Battle Tendency. Battle Tendency is what made me stick with JoJo's. Because, like I said, part 3, I didn't much enjoy it. So I was like, but I was like, okay, part 2, it was good. It can get this good again. And then part 4, so goated. But yeah, so part 2, I love it. I love, like, I mean, there's not great supporting characters, but you don't need great supporting characters in an arc where the main character is goated. So, like, I just love Joseph in this. I love how bizarre part 2 is. It's just goofy. I love how goofy it is. And I also love that it can be serious at times, like with Caesar's death. And I love how goofy Stroheim is. And just generally, I like Cars. Cars is one of my favorite villains in all of JoJo's because he reminds me of, like, Maharaga or, like, crap. Why am I forgetting other, like, adapting characters? What the heck? But yeah, I just love him because he is an insurmountable force. Like, they had to send him off into space because bro would have obliterated everyone if he would have remained on Earth. And yeah, I just wish we could see more with Cars, though he's all floating on a space rock somewhere. But, like, still, I really enjoyed this part. I love the action and I love the battles. I love the deaths that we get to see. Also, probably one of my favorite scenes in all of JoJo's is where Joseph is fighting the Pillarman, and it's where he's, like, crawling towards a minecart, and they keep looking back, and he's down, and then he's crawling back towards and all that. I love that scene. Also, I love Tequila Joseph, which is goated. That's one of my favorite scenes, too. And, yeah, I just love how comedic part 2 is, but also it doesn't act as a detriment. Because a lot of times comedy and anime can act as a detriment, but when you fuse it perfectly with seriousness, it just works. So I really love that. It's kind of like, just like any other story like that, like a Forrest Gump or something like that, or a Marty Supreme. Like, it just fuses comedy very well with serious moments. But yeah, so then I would say my number 2 spot is part 4, Diamonds Unbreakable. So I love this part. This was my favorite part for a long time, and I just love part 4 because I really like Josuke. Josuke, he's not necessarily my favorite Joestar, and I don't really know where I would put him, but I mean, he's super cool. I really like Josuke. And then you have Jotaro, who I personally think is a better character in part 4 than he is in his own part. And then also you have Okuyasu, and then you have the GOAT himself, Kuchi Hyros. Oh, I wonder if anyone's ever mistaken his name like that, Koichi Hirose. And oh my gosh, I love Koichi. And Koichi is the reason why I like Johnny so much in part 7, which now you know is my favorite, because of the evolving stand. I know there's different names for it. It's like reverb or echoes, but I love his stand because of how it evolves. It's just so cool. I love that concept. Like, I know it's very similar to, like, Pokemon or something like that, but, like, it's still sick. Like, what are you telling me? This dude's stand is evolving. Like, that is so cool. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why it is so cool to me necessarily, but I love Koichi. And I love Koichi's stand. I love to see how Koichi develops through it. Also, I love Shigechi. Like, now, Shigechi at, like, first is kind of annoying, but, like, I love how goofy he is. I love the sacrifice he makes, because Shigechi, he died, but yeah, I loved him. And also, I believe Araki said his favorite stand was the Harvest. I'm not for certain, though. That might have been his favorite stand, or his favorite stand to draw. I don't imagine that'd be a very fun stand to draw, considering how many of the little Harvests there are, but yeah. And then, to speak on the antagonist, Yoshikage Kira is my favorite villain in all of JoJo's. I just love him. Man, I don't love him. He's a serial killer. But, like, still, he's just super cool, and, like, his stand is compelling. I love seeing how he takes over a man's entire life and gets found out by this dude's kid. So, yeah, it's just super cool. I love Kira, and that makes it why Part 4 was my favorite part in all of JoJo's for a long time there. But then it got defeated. It fell from its plinth up at number 1. By Steel Ball Run. Steel Ball Run, in so far what I have read, is the epitome of Araki's writing. It is the plinth on which, like, all mangaka should aspire, because it's got it all. It's got great backstories. It's got great battles. It's got great arcs. It's got great side characters. Heck, the side characters are almost as compelling as Johnny, who's the main character, but Johnny's super compelling too. Like, seeing Johnny's development throughout all of Steel Ball Run is just so hype. And then, like, seeing how he deals with stuff. Like, massive spoilers for Steel Ball Run, by the way. I'm about to spill the beans. But, like, when he is left, when Gyro gets killed in, like, the last 10 chapters, and he's left to handle this, and then he ends up figuring out how to break out Tusky Eye 4 with the golden rectangle, and then he unlocks the infinite spin, hits Valentine with it, and then Valentine comes and barters with him to, like, bring Gyro back, and then ultimately Johnny doesn't believe Valentine. He acts like he does, and then Valentine ends up faking it, and Johnny was just prepared. So, like, I just love this. And also just, like, seeing Valentine. Valentine is a great villain, in my opinion. Valentine is sick. Yes, he did try and rape a 14-year-old girl, but, I probably shouldn't say that word. But yeah. So, with that, he did try and do that. That makes not Yoshikage, but it makes Funny Valentine a bad person. But, like, villain-wise, if you cut that part out, he is super cool. Like, he is a sick character. I loved his backstory about how his dad was tortured as a POW, and he kept his cloth on because he liked writing dates on a bunch of stuff, and he kept the cloth on, and he wrote the cloth date on it when Valentine was born in 1847. I think it was September 20th, 1847. And kept the cloth with him, and removed his eye to hide the cloth in there so he could ultimately get back to Funny. Now, when that scene was happening where the other soldier who knew Funny Valentine's dad was, like, telling him, I thought he was going to say it was hitting up his rectum, because I think, what movie is it? There's a movie where this dude hid, like, a buffalo penny in his butthole, and it got returned to his son somehow. Crap! What story is that? Is it Wolf of Wall Street? No, it's not Wolf of Wall Street. Crap, I don't remember what it is. But the dude hid, like, some family heirloom in his rectum, and it got returned to his kid. I think that's Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know why I'm thinking. It's been moments since it's been like 2 years since I watched it, even though it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, so I just love that. I love Funny Valentine's backstory. Also, like, other backstories, I love Gyro's backstory, and also him. I think the kid's name was, like, Marco or something like that. I don't know why I forget the kid's name. It's been a moment since it was mentioned in the story, really. But, like, I loved his goal. I love how Gyro had struggled with the concept of being an executioner and stuff in his past. I also loved seeing Johnny's backstory. And also Diego's backstory was one of the most compelling in all of Steel Ball Run. And, like, I don't know. I just loved villains also in the end with Diego from an alternate universe through D4C's ability coming into the main universe and having the world. Like, we've never seen that before with, kind of like, we've never had this, well, until then we haven't really had this option of different universes and different dimensions. And seeing a person have a completely different stand and really seeing how powerful the world is. Because, like, yeah, we see the world beats relatively, I guess, down-to-earth stands in Part 3 when it's most utilized, but then seeing it fight, like, Tusk and win for the promotion, like, the most part, like, that is crazy. And it's, because, like, the world, it's so simple. Stop time for 5 seconds. It's able to beat things that are literally able to rip through the barrier between dimensions. Like, oh my gosh, that moment had so much aura. When we see as Tusk rips through the barrier or the light to get to Funny Valentine and D4C, like, holy smokes, that was so cool. Like, I know I'm gushing grannies about Steel Ball Run, but holy smokes, I love it so much. You gotta read it if you haven't read it. Read it. I know you probably aren't watching this if you haven't already, because I said spoilers beforehand. But yes, read Steel Ball Run. It is so, so good. I know millions of people have said this before, but it is genuinely a masterpiece. And then, like, I don't know what necessarily my favorite arc would be. It'd either be D4C, like the D4C arc, where we see as D4C is revealed, and Valentine learns about Lucy and all that, and how she's been swapped in with Scarlet, who's dead now. And it's either that, it's either the arc with Wiccapipo and Magenta, because Wiccapipo is one of my favorite side characters in all of JoJo's. He's super cool. I love his backstory. I love his connection to Gyro. Or Ringo Rodigan's. Crap. I think it's a True Man's World is the name of that arc. Ringo Rodigan was what made Steel Ball Run through. That's what got me really, really into Steel Ball Run. Because I liked it beforehand. Yeah, it had some really interesting stuff. But then once we get to Ringo Rodigan, and we have this beautiful story, just way early on, too. Like, it's only, I don't even believe, it's not even 40 chapters deep. It might be like 20 to 30 chapters deep. And it is a masterclass. I love, like, it's a pure kind of Western vibes you got from it. I'm not personally a fan of, like, cinema Westerns. I do like Western books, like Blood Meridian, or All the Pretty Horses, or what is it? Oh, The Crossing. That's not the one. But yeah, like, I just loved it. I love Ringo Rodigan as a character. And Steel Ball Run genuinely had some of my favorite antagonists. Also, speaking on Dio, as I did prior, I like Dio in Part 7 more than I like Dio in Parts 1, 3, or 6. Like, I'm not a big fan of the original universe Dio, but like this one, Diego Brando, he's so cool. Like, I love his backstory. I feel like if the original Dio had a bit of a more fleshed out backstory, then I would have liked it more. Like, this Diego, great backstory, great character. Like, we see as he ends up joining with the good guys when they're chasing down that train that Valentine and Lucy are on, and he ends up helping. Like, he ultimately is the reason why kind of like they figure out how D4C works. And he helps them all out, but he's still doing this for his own benefit, as we see later on as well. And it's just, especially like when he captures the corpse after Funny Valentine is killed by Johnny, and then Diego's sent back into the main universe, because this had already happened like after the train events. Well, no, because the train events, Dio dies from the train events because he gets trapped under the wheels of the train and gets bisected. But yeah, so it's just, I love this arc. It is, I could speak about it for an hour, but I will not hold you that long. And that's just kind of my new ranking on not Steel Ball Run, but on JoJo's. So just kind of recap: 7th place, Part 1, 6th place, Part 3, 5th place, Part 6, 4th place, Part 5, 3rd place, Part 2, 2nd place, Part 4, and 1st place, Part 7. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion on all of the JoJo's arcs so far that I've read. Like I said, JoJolian's shaping up to be pretty great so far. Like I said, I'm 7 chapters deep, so nothing too crazy, but it's looking like I'm going to love it. So, like I said, that's all there really is for that, and thank you very much for watching.